I want to demonstrate how to construct a variance covariance matrix in Excel. So I've seen several videos, and there's several ways to do this. One is to use matrix algebra. And the problem with that is many of you who are watching this video are not that familiar with matrix algebra. A second approach would be to use some of the different functions in Excel. So there are functions that compute the variance, population, and sample variance for a series of data. So we could compute the sample variance or the population variance for Amazon, Google, Facebook, and Berkshire Hathaway. And we can also compute the covariance. There's a function that allows you to compute the covariance between two sets of data. So, and you can also compute either the population or the sample covariance. Now, the third approach is to use the data analysis pack. So if you go to data up here, and over here you see data analysis. If you don't happen to have that up here, you can easily install it by going to File, Options, Add-ins, and these are Excel add-ins I want, so click OK, and make sure the Analysis Tool Pack is clicked on. So now, if we click on this Data Analysis icon, we have a bunch of different calculations that can be performed. One happens to be covariance. So I'm going to click OK for this, and it's going to ask me what data I want. I happen to have data for returns for Amazon, Google, Facebook, and Berkshire Hathaway. I have 5 years of monthly data. Now you lose the first observation where you're calculating returns from price. So I have 59 observations here. So I'm going to highlight this. And then I need to tell it where I want to put the output range. So I'm going to have to click this on, and I'm going to tell it I'd like to put the output range, for example, here. Okay, so let me say OK for that. Let me make sure I have the correct input range, but I didn't lose it. I seem to have lost my input range. So let me just highlight those again. And let me hit enter. And let's say OK. And let's see here. Here we have this variance covariance matrix. And of course, I'll tell you what, let me put the company's names here. So I'm going to copy those here and paste those. And you can actually copy them to here. Just make sure you go to Paste Special and say Paste the Transpose. Okay, so across the diagonal, we have the variance, and in the off diagonal, we happen to have the covariances. So let's see what they calculated here. They wound up calculating, and you can look right here, they calculated the population variance. And up here, I also have some numbers. Let me make that a little bigger if I can. I have the population variance for Amazon. It's 0.0036. The population variance for Google is 0.0397. So we can see it calculated population variance. Now, technically, you probably should be using sample variance here. But let me show you how to do that, but first let's fill in the rest of this table. So again, we can just simply copy this, and then when we paste it here, this would be Google with Amazon, Facebook with Amazon, and Berkshire Hathaway with Amazon. And I'm going to say, oh, didn't take that. Let me try that again. So let me do this again. Copy, and then I'm going to go here, and I'm going to say again, paste the transpose. So hopefully I've done that correctly, right? This should be symmetric. This is right, this is right, and this is right. And let me copy these two, right? Facebook and Google, and Facebook and Berkshire Hathaway. So I'm going to say copy. And again, I'm going to paste the transpose. And then this last one here, I can just copy this one here and paste it. Okay, so I think I've got it correct. Should be symmetric, right? This number should equal this number should equal this number should equal this number. This should equal this, and this should equal this. So it looks good. Looks good. Now, this is the population variance covariance matrix. Suppose you want the sample variance covariance matrix. Now, one way you can do it is simply to multiply all of these by n over n minus 1, because that's all the difference is. When it's the population, they divide by n. When it's the sample, they divide by n minus 1. So that's what I've done here. I've created this variable, which is, 59. I have 59 observations. That's n. So 59 divided by 58 is 1.01724. So how do we do that? All right. First thing we want to do is we want to create create a space here. So this is 4 by 4. So I have a 4 by 4 space, and I want to say equals, and I want to multiply the number here, J17, by this. I just highlight this whole area here. And then in order to do matrix multiplication, so this is a scalar times a matrix, it's just Control Shift Enter, and we've got this new variance covariance matrix. Well, let me put the labels in so that we can make sure that it looks okay. And then I'm going to go up and compare them to the sample variance covariances that sample variances I've created. So I have, this is Amazon, 0.00647, that's correct. This one is 0.00404. For Facebook, it's 0.00693, and for Berkshire Hathaway, it's 0.00248. So this is a really easy way to construct the variance covariance matrix, taking advantage of this covariance function that Excel has. And even though you get the population variance covariance matrix, it's really quite simple to do this matrix multiplication in order to convert it to a sample variance covariance matrix.